This is Skate Summer. Remember those hazy summer days in the late 90s to early 2000s, sitting with your friends playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on the PlayStation? With the soundtrack so good it formed the basis for your entire taste in music. Maybe you were rolling something to make that summer feel very hazy indeed. If any of this is familiar to you, then stick around, as this game takes all of that and brings a skate punk summer nostalgia to your board game collection. Pandasaurus Games has got its paw prints all over this production, with bright neon shades filling every nook and cranny. And there's bits that look like they're straight out of a tax-dodging London American candy shop. For some, it might be on the borderline of garish, but for me, it's just freaking cool. With a surprisingly small table footprint, the central board is an unusual hexagonal shape to account for the skater tokens that are going to go into each corner. There is a significant number of card and plastic tokens and bits which are all in that typical Pandasaurus aesthetic, with a colour palette of bright pastels that is always wonderfully refreshing to see. You have these great little plastic skater meeples in the box, although I consider whether or not a wooden screen printed meeple might have been nicer in this production with a little bit less plastic. There's also a ton of trick cards in this game, with artwork full of skaters ripping massive willy grinds and pop show-its or something. God, I'm old. The standout items in the box are the player boards. These are amazingly shaped like skateboards and are charming as all hell, but aside from that are actually really smartly designed and host all of your player components and tokens. Overall, despite a couple of QC hiccups like spurs and some of the minis that don't stand up, which I need to be clear are actually only part of the Kickstarter production and not the retail, the production in general is top notch. Skate Summer combines a push your luck mechanism with area movement and token collecting to create a two-phase game with plenty of interesting decision spaces. The heart of the game, as you'd hope considering the theme, is the skateboard, onto which you're going to be playing trick cards which will move a little balance token either to the left or to the right. If that marker goes too far to one side or the other, you're going to bail and eat the granite. Once everyone has played a trick, you roll balance dice, which will move your balance marker yet again in a less predictable way. The number of balance dice you roll is determined by the number of tricks you played. So the more tricks you attempt in a row, the more likely it is you're going to eat the pavement. The thematic integration here is flawless. Landing your combo of tricks will net you a bunch of victory points, plus a free upgrade for your skateboard, which will give you more points in future for doing certain types of tricks. But what happens if you stack it? Well, it's punishing enough to give you pause for thought, but not so punishing that you're going to completely lose the game or prevent you from taking a risk every now and then. It's a fine balance that the game manages to straddle really well. You'll lose a few tokens and you don't get a free upgrade, but that's about it. The second phase of the game sees you traversing Pelican Park, and in an almost direct play on the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, sees you collecting bell, spray can and crate tokens in a bid to have the most of each type of token, as doing so will get you a big chunk of additional victory points at the end of the game. You'll also want to trick your way into each corner of the hex board to collect the skater letters, which will provide powerful upgrades for your skateboard, such as giving you a bigger hand size or allowing you to balance better, or giving you easy access to advanced special tricks. Collecting all of the skater letter tokens will yield yet again more bonus victory points at the end of the game. The theme in this game is an absolute sugar rush for 30-somethings like me who spend hours hanging out in front of a PS1 with their friends and spent their youth being a terrible skateboarder. The way it ties push your luck mechanisms to balancing on your skateboard is an absolute stroke of genius, and it works superbly here. The theme is really present throughout the heart of the game. You can tell that care and thought has been put into each element to make it really sing. If it did sing, it would probably sound like CKY. Or Millencolin. Skate Summer provides both strategic and tactical decisions. The complexity here comes from that decision space. What order are you going to collect the skater letters in, and thus what upgrade benefits are you going to unlock first? Are you focusing on your skateboard or on Pelican Park? Which tricks should you play to get to the locations you need to get to? Do you take the flame tokens, or do you take the collectibles? Or do you just play a trick to swing the balance back to the center? Do you land early to take the initiative, or do you push your luck for the points? The decisions are numerous and engaging. We love how Skate Summer brings the nostalgia of those hazy days to the board game table in a really vibrant way, and the way it blends its theme and mechanisms is absolutely sublime. There is always the temptation to play one more trick, because the more tricks you play, the more points you'll get, and more benefit you'll get in the second phase of the game. It has a one more go factor that will keep you coming back for more. Skate Summer plays 2 to 5 players, and as the skateboard phase is mostly done simultaneously, it keeps downtime to an absolute minimum. We preferred this at 4 rather than 3, as the competition for collecting tokens really ramps up, which adds another layer of excitement and jeopardy to your decision making. This game is for circa 40-year-old mildly bearded white men who host a YouTube show and podcast about board games. Suspiciously specific, maybe, but the theme of this game is such a hook for me and for probably anyone that grew up in the time period that this game is evoking. But even if you didn't, it's such an aesthetically pleasing, mechanically sound, fun game with really well integrated elements of push your luck and set collection and traversal that we really recommend you give it a go if the theme or production even remotely appeal to you. At around £50 or your local equivalent, this is a really fantastic hybrid Euro game that's definitely worth your time and money. It's a fun, semi-complex game that's really great for experienced gamers, but also just about accessible enough for newer gamers who have an interest in the theme. Skate Summer is definitely one of our highlights of 2022's releases, and it is infinitely better than attempting a frontside Smith grind and then cracking your teeth on the concrete as you remember that you can't actually skate.